Hey, Jabbers, welcome back to another episode of Just Another Biz podcast. We've received some great DMs and emails from you recently from real life Jabbers saying how much they love the podcast. So, thank you so much to anyone who has taken the time to leave us a review. And if you're still thinking about it, you can rate and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It means so, so much. So, thank you again. And more importantly, a big thing has changed since our last episode in Kari's life specifically. Kari, would you like to share?
Yeah. Well, I had a beautiful daughter. At the end of August, and her name is Riley. So yeah, we're in the newborn phase. She's almost a month old. I think, is it today? Yeah, it's crazy. Time has flown
Oh,
by, but yeah, we have a little beautiful daughter, and it's been it's been great. And also I'm a little sleep deprived, so
right. So we will
hopefully.
give Kari some grace if her brain stops working mid sentence.
Yes. But yeah, we added another, to the family, another to the mix. So
Love it. Oh,
yeah,
congrats, you guys.
thank
She looks
you.
beautiful, and we're excited to have you back.
Yeah. So today we are talking about courses, conferences, mentorships, masterminds, things that we've paid to be in, and just kind of giving our honest reviews on them. And we'll be sure to link a lot of the ones that we talk about in the show notes as well. Gabby, remind me of that. Sometimes I forget to put things in the show notes. But yeah, let's dive into just things that Gabby and I have been a part of over the years and what we have finished, what we have not finished, all of the things to kind of help propel our businesses forward, and also just us as like individuals, and kind of growing in leadership and also just business acumen.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to talk about a lot of these because we've both taken some same ones, but we've also done some different ones. So this will be fun. I guess I want to kick it off with the one that I am currently in, and it is the freshest in my mind. So it is a mastermind. It's called the Abundance Group Mastermind. Some of you have heard me talk about it on Instagram and in my email newsletter because I'm a big fan and it's helped me a ton. So right before we press record, Kari and I were talking about it. And essentially, it is for wedding pros who are looking to scale. Scale can mean so many things. It could be growth of your team, growth of your packages, raising your prices, whatever you want that to mean, but you're ready to take it to the next level. And so the requirement to be in this mastermind is you are a business owner, a wedding pro that makes $100,000 or more in revenue. And from there, you just need help stepping it up a notch. And so I am currently in it. I've literally been in it for maybe 2 weeks and I've already gotten so, so much out of it. In fact, I used one of my sessions to talk to my coach about prepping me for a sales call. And I had this big client. I was prepping for the sales call. I was worried about a few objections. Some of it was like percentage pricing objection. Some of it was, well, you're not a local planner. Why would I hire you? Like those kinds of intrusive thoughts that were coming in my mind that could cause a block for me during the sales call. And we ran through it. We practiced it. We did scenarios. I like talked about it out loud to my coach and to myself later on. And when I got on that sales call, I freaking crushed it. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I killed it. This is a $20,000 client for a 40-person guest count. And I was like, yes, this is my ideal client. I'm so, so pumped. So, as we are recording this, I literally sent over wire instructions to this client and I am waiting for the contract to be signed and the wire to be sent. And I, feeling very confident. So this mastermind is well, and we can talk about pricing if Kari, if you know some of the pricings of the ones you've been in, but
Yeah.
uh, this one is $500 a month with a 1 year minimum. So for some of you at first, you're like, oh my God, that's a big commitment. But honestly, what we get is one-on-one coaching. We get monthly group calls. We get 2 in-person retreats. Like that doesn't cover the cost of your hotel and airfare, but everything that happens in the retreats, access to all the abundance group courses, which are like thousands of dollars worth, um, some crazy spreadsheets that have helped me realize where my business is maybe needing a little bit extra help and where it's thriving, and unlimited Voxer. And this is a theme that's now coming up in a lot of coaching programs, is the access to Voxer. So I press record and talk live on this app to my coach, and she'll reply with a voice memo later on. So anyway, I could go on about this. I'm a big fan. And I send
Yeah,
emails out about this all the time because she is only taking a certain amount of people with a certain um I don't know, profile of
sure.
business. So
Yeah,
I love it.
that's amazing. Going back to the sales call, were those objections from the client or just objections in your head that you were worried that the client was going to bring up?
Objections in my head because these were things that get I trip on a lot,
Mm.
and I get
Just like
worried
because
that
other clients have brought
yes.
those things up. Yeah.
Yes. And the only thing she brought up was not, why are you offering percentage pricing? She just wanted clarification on what it meant and what the minimum was and all that stuff. And as soon as I explained it, she's like, great. Like it was a dream sales call.
That's
I
the
think
best.
we probably make ourselves so worried for nothing.
I love walking away from calls that you're like, I crushed it. Like it was like a perfect match. And I mean, at the end of the day, too, right? Like these people are coming in knowing absolutely nothing about
Right.
weddings, the wedding industry, how people operate their business. And so sometimes the like objection in your head is more just like us having to educate them. It's not them being like, well, why would I pay you that? They're just like, I don't understand. Can you
Right.
explain it?
It's
So,
exactly that. And that's what my coach was saying. It's a lot of the time, and actually, Maria Bayer, who we're going to talk about next, this is something in her course that she says it's oftentimes a lack of clarity where people object because they don't understand it. It's not clear, it's confusing. They don't want to get involved if it's murky.
right. Because I think even a big thing for me that people often ask is like, they're like, who's going to be there on the day of, you know? And you're like, well, I am. It's part of the package, but people just need clarity around like what is actually included, who does all these like finer things. And so, yeah, I think just being able to explain that without being like, the, thinking that they're like questioning and like trying to be like, well, tell me why I should pay for that. I think people
Yeah.
just want to understand better.
So true.
Yeah. So Gabby and I both have done Maria Bayer's Irresistible Selling. And I think I signed up for this during COVID. I don't know when you signed up for it, Gabby. But I remember even just thinking like, why am I doing this right now? Because like COVID was like, I don't know the next time I'm gonna get another client or be able to plan another event. But I just like it felt right, and so I took the like leap, took the risk. And I think for me it was really great. Like these, so she basically offers like you get to be a part of a Facebook group. She has like monthly calls. They're like A&A calls, so you can ask and get your questions answered. Usually she's leading it, or like another veteran in the community is leading it. But you also just get to connect with other wedding pros. I think I had an accountability partner in the beginning, but I haven't had one in a while.
You
Um,
guys weren't holding each other accountable to be accountability partners.
I know it's so funny because we like met a couple times, and then after COVID kind of ended and like 2021 took over, we just like stopped connecting.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, with this too, so I forget, is it five audio recordings, and they're an hour long each, and there's like worksheets with it. So basically she kind of breaks down the topics of like sales and how to go about communicating with, potential clients, marketing, just like mindset is one of them. And really just figuring out like honing in on sales for your business. And I think for me, it really helped just to be more confident and changing my mindset on booking larger clients too.
Yeah, I felt the same, and I try to re-listen to it every year, actually, so that's the beauty of this course, and I think I was trying to think back at the price, was it about 3,000?
I think
Is that what you
so.
remember? Yeah, I think that's the number that came to mind for me, but again, we both took it 4-ish years ago,
Yeah.
and so it the first thing that comes to mind when we pay such a large sum is, will I make it up? Well, every time we do. Like, we
Mm,
sell 1 or 2 packages depending on what your rates are, and that is paid for. So, don't stress about that. It your investment is so worth it. It comes back tenfold. Um, the other thing I was gonna say is, a lot of these courses, the fact that they have a community aspect to them is a really, really valuable part because, yes, you will learn from the content of the person who created the course, but even more, you'll learn from your peers. And I
mhm,
find that a lot of the times our peers have either similar situations or they go through situations that we have not been through yet, but that could happen to us. And we now get to have a solution and a way of either, how to face our objections or how to prepare for a sales call, all that kind of stuff that you go into it feeling way more prepared. So I think that, to me, that was a really valuable part of it. And again, I listen to this audio again every year just to get a
yeah,
refresher. We
yeah,
forget, right? Like, we really have to train our mind to continue thinking. And you said it was a big mindset shift. It really is. And we have to continue to reset it every so often.
yeah. Because every year is so different. I mean, I think even for people in the wedding industry this year, there's been a large sum of people who are like, this is a tough year and like booking clients. And I think having that community is also helpful from the standpoint of like sharing low points and like wins with them and people celebrating them or just kind of like lifting you up when you are struggling, because a lot of people have been there or they're like currently in a similar position, and so it's kind of like helping to lift each other up and out of that of being like, you can book more clients, or have you tried X, Y, and Z to get you out of that.
So true. Yeah. And that one, it's like it's a timeless or, evergreen
Yeah.
content course.
Mhm.
We'll link all of these in the show notes, of course. And feel free to ask us about any of them too in our own experiences if there's something else that you want to know.
Yeah. Other courses, I mean, that it's funny that when we brought this topic up the other day, I was like really thinking about all the courses I've taken and or signed up for and like mostly finished. And a lot of these courses, which is great, is like you get kind of like lifetime access, right? So I can log back into any of these for like a refresher, as you mentioned. So when I first started my business, I signed up for Marie Forleo's B School, um, which was, I mean, it was like a huge course load, I guess. And I don't think I finished it all, which I definitely need to go back and do because it was a lot of like work, right? It was like longer courses and it was really implementing all of these things, right? So because it's easy to like listen to it and take all the notes, but then if you're not actually going back into your business and implementing it, these courses really aren't worth it.
And it
Um,
wasn't wedding related, right? It's business related.
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
business related. And I remember too, with that, I had gotten like a small group of women that I was connected to because I think I signed up through Hillary Rushford.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, that's forever.
Yeah,
That was the OG group of like
I know,
online
right?
courses.
And she like shut down her business recently, which is so interesting. I was following her. But she like closed down her business and like
'Cause
had a
she made
baby.
millions and doesn't
Yeah.
need to anymore.
But
Wow.
anyway, I got connected to this group of people, and some of them were in New York, which is funny because Leah, who we had on our podcast earlier this year, I met her through that initially, and then we got connected through weddings and everything. Um but yeah, so I did B school, and then other courses like Jenna Kutcher offers like a bunch of different courses, and some of hers are like lower cost, low entry barrier type of thing, where it's like I signed up for a Pinterest course that maybe was like $200. I've taken her podcast course, and I can't remember. I've done like email courses through her as well, like email marketing type of thing. And again, you can like log back into those courses and re-listen. And I know she's even posted recently that she's like revamping a lot of the courses. So if you've paid and signed up, right, you can go back and get fresh content. Like they're keeping it up to date for things, right? Like even an Instagram course that I took of hers probably back in 2015 looks so different. So it's like I need to go back to that and kind of see what updates are a part of that as well. And I just remembered I was part of also Social Curator with
Oh,
Jasmine
yes.
Star until this year. I think I ended up canceling it, but it was like $25 a month. And she initially started it as like you got access to all of these photos, like what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, like stock
Stock
photos.
photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it kind of evolved into like you get marketing plans with it, Instagram captions, they were teaching you how to make reels. Um, but yeah, it kind of evolved into this like marketing tool because they even had like an AI feature on there where it was like again help you to write captions and different things like that. And so that was great too, right? It was like a low cost thing. They had like, guest speakers and courses on there and just different marketing, um, I guess like guides and advice. And then again, you were also part of a Facebook group, so you
Mhm.
could chat with people and, get feedback and everything like that.
Oh, yeah. And I think, it's funny, especially us in the wedding industry, very few, if any of those were wedding related. Like
Yeah,
they're at the end of the day, we're all just trying to run a business. We know the wedding content piece. Like we know how to run a wedding because we either assisted or worked for other planners.
right.
But I don't think neither you or I, well, you did hospitality, but neither you or I did like an event planning course.
No, no, I haven't.
No.
I mean,
Maybe
I
we
like
don't know things.
I know. I mean, part of my degree from college was in event planning, but not like weddings specifically. I feel like I just kind of fell into the wedding world. So, yeah, none of them have been like a wedding focus
Yeah.
course, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Except these next things, perhaps. So, like, if we talk about either in-person conferences or summits. So 2020 to 2023, let's say it was like free online summit extravaganza.
Hmm.
You couldn't get away from them if you tried. They were everywhere. And they were great. I mean, we were all at home. We had nothing else to do but to learn. And it really was a great space. And it made it so accessible for everybody. Um, a lot of the times these free summits have obviously a free ticket, but then there's add-ons that are a paid add-on. So the challenge is the free ticket, you have to watch the sessions live, and usually the add-on for like $47, you get the recordings. And so you had to have the whole day available to watch the free portion, but it was a great way to get access. You could at least pick the sessions you wanted to watch, live and forego the rest. But yeah, free summits, again, it goes back to, were we overloaded with content and didn't implement anything? I think this is something we talked about in our one of our last episodes with Amber and Renee about conferences and how to feel confident at conferences and not feel overwhelmed, like actually taking all the notes we wrote down and implementing them. So I think there can be a lot of overwhelm with online summits, free courses, and also figuring out, is it a bunch of fluff or are you getting real actionable advice out
Right.
of them?
Yeah, I mean, you saying that now of just like all of the free courses, like master classes. I have done so many of those. And granted, I'm not always signing up for like the paid course at the end, but even just showing up to like the 1 hour master class and things like that. Like I've done so many of those. And I kind of forgot until you said that. Like I just like find random ones online on Instagram.
Yeah, and there's a place for them. I think when you're dipping your toe in the education space and wanting to learn more, I think those are a great place to start. And you get to meet educators that you may want to learn more from.
Mhm.
So the whole point is that yeah, if you like so and so speaker, you start to follow their content and then you can see what their paid offerings are. And if you want to dive deeper into their course. Um, but also, I think back to the mastermind that I'm in right now, that's a high ticket price, like it's $500 a month. I am putting so much more effort into that because it's not free. Because
Yeah.
every month I'm spending that money that I want to make sure I get that coaching. I want to get $500 worth of coaching every month. I want to make sure my spreadsheets are filled out and I get feedback. Like, I really think there is a place to spend the money, and you just have to know yourself too. Like, are you the kind of person that is a really great implementer with free content, or are you the person like needs to pay in order
Yeah.
to get that to get
Yeah.
the something out of the content?
And especially if it's a smaller group of people, like people are relying on you to show up and like be a part of the mastermind and like give advice and, talk about your business. And so I think there's also like a great accountability in that too, of like, you have to show up. Otherwise, you're going to kind of get like a slap on the wrist, right? Of like, Gabby, like if you're paying to be a part of this, you need to participate.
For sure. Yeah.
Because, like, something with like B school, it wasn't, again, you're a part of like a larger community where no one's like truly holding you accountable to finishing the courses or like showing up in the Facebook group. Where I do love when it's a smaller mastermind like that because um you really have to commit to like implementing
Mhm.
everything.
Well, and your presence is noticeable. Your presence
Yeah.
and lack of presence is noticeable and can make an impact on other people, like we said before. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think now where I'm at in my business, these smaller, more curated groups of people is where I'm getting the most value. But that being said, I also signed up for this $49 in-person conference that's coming to Nashville that is not wedding related. It's called the Aspire Conference, and
Oh.
Kristen Cavallari is going to be a
Oh.
keynote speaker. So, as a former big fan of Laguna Beach, I 100% am going even just to see what she's going to talk about. But also, I was like, hey, if I find motivation out of it, then it's
Mhm.
done its job. If I feel inspired or just pumped and it just lifts my mindset, then it's done its job. It's 49
Yeah.
bucks. I'm not going to cry
Yeah.
about it.
Speaking of other in-person events, Gabby, I know I don't think either of us have been to Wedding MBA, but it is a big conference in Las Vegas every year for wedding professionals. I don't know, is it like 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, it's 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. But I know like that is a huge thing that a lot of people participate in and go to and get a lot of value from. I'm curious like what your thoughts are on it or if you were ever thinking about going to it.
Yeah. Okay. It's so interesting. My thoughts have changed over the years. I used to not want to go. I don't know why I was so averse to it. I think I maybe felt like I couldn't possibly learn anything. But now that
Mhm.
I've matured, I know that I can always learn something. And especially after hearing again, Renee and Amber on our last episode, they've been in this space for 10 plus years. They always learn something from any type of conference. So I am probably going to make it a goal for me and my team to go in 2025. I think I'd just like to be part of the hustle and bustle. And I'd love to see people in real life that I've connected with over the internet. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some great keynote speakers and great sessions. And I would like to check it out. So Carrie, I feel like we should go.
Yeah, I'm down. I feel very similar to your thought process of like, oh, I don't want to be a part of like this bigger thing. Like I'm kind of in my own like zone of like running my business and
Yes.
creativity. But yeah, I think I haven't really been to a large conference in a while. Gabby and I went to Alt Summit, which is in Palm Springs, where I don't know if it
Yeah.
changes, but that was back in 2021, I believe.
Oh God. No, it had to be before
Or
because I
before
lived in
COVID,
LA.
maybe
Yeah.
2019,
Yeah.
2019, I think. But yeah, I do love even just kind of the inspiration and motivation you get from these conferences that are in person because you can kind of pick like what course or track like what you want to learn about at them, and then also just like getting to connect with people from all over is like a really great motivation just to hear about other people's businesses. um and yeah, like I think what you said before, like if you feel motivated and inspired from any of these, I think that's a huge bonus and worth the money that you've paid.
Yeah. Well, and like that's the thing. A lot of even like we were talking about the sales, irresistible selling from Maria Barrett. She has a full hour audio about mindset. The mindset piece is it's not just this nitty-gritty tips and tricks and hacks. Like the mindset piece is a huge part of all of this. So yeah, go to conferences to getting to going to conferences to get inspired is just as valuable as knowing how to set up your automated many chat
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, are there other in-person conferences you have attended that you found really valuable?
like over the years, I think it's been similar, like some non-wedding related stuff. Like Biz Bash was one. It's definitely event related. There was another one, I think it's from ILEA. They hosted a conference in Dallas and I won a ticket to it. So that was really cool. And it was intimidating because I was a new planner and I was like, oh, am I outside of my zone here? But again, I was this in this case, it was I was learning from people that were in a place that I wanted to aspire to be in. So it was both motivating and I was learning about stuff that I didn't need to apply yet, but probably down the road. So that was really cool. And always you meet some great people along the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think but and I'm going to this Nashville one in November. I will report back and to see if it was fun or if it like I will have to make myself network with people because these are
Yeah.
not my wedding pro friends. I don't know
Okay.
anybody going.
Yeah.
It's just like an inspirational, motivational business conference. So I'm gonna have to just meet some people.
Yeah. Well, you can go back and listen to our episode with Renee and Amber and also Kevin about how
Yeah,
to network.
so true.
And get, set your goals for the conference. Even if again, we talked about this in the latest episodes, but like even if your goal is to meet two people,
Yeah,
like keep it a low bar if you feel overwhelmed of like what do I have to get out of this conference, but like set a few goals and just keep them low if you're like feeling overwhelmed about
yeah,
it, just to come out with something that feels like you accomplished at that conference.
yeah, exactly. That's the plan. I'll report back.
Love it.
Um, Last but not least, the other way, I guess, the other kind of conferencey things we've done or meetups is like local networking groups, local meetups, such as the Rising Tide. I was also part of female entrepreneurs back in LA, and all sorts of like there's creative entrepreneurs or there's all sorts of things that go from just networking to co-working days together to actual talks. What has been your experience with those? Do you get a lot out of it or does it just depend?
Yeah, I haven't honestly done local groups post COVID. But pre COVID, I feel like I was going to them all the time. Like you said, like Rising Tide, or even just other random groups that I was a part of people I knew through like church or just other vendors would host these like local meetups. And I love doing those because it was like getting just to connect in person was so great and talk about our businesses. And they were usually small groups at a coffee shop, maybe like 5 to 10 people. And I do miss that. And I even hosted a few of them of just like with other wedding vendors. And I do miss having that connection in person for sure. So that's something I could probably look into again. In the new year and, kind of after maternity leave. But yeah, I think the value of just meeting, even with a small group of people, feels less intimidating. And you feel like you can actually ask questions or like share your thoughts without feeling, judgment from a larger group of people. Cause I think that's sometimes where people get shy, right? When it is a large crowd of people, you don't necessarily want to speak up or share your thoughts. And that's why I love those smaller groups. I did attend, I think it was through Wedding Wire, or I can't remember the group, but they basically had a panel of speakers, and then we had some like roundtable discussions. And I think I did that earlier this summer. And I didn't know anybody. I almost backed out. It was like a little bit of a drive, but it was nice. Like I met a few people, and like, the panels were good. And it was just like a daytime over lunch thing. And it was at like a fun venue. And so even just like finding stuff like that that's free is really great to attend and just connect with people. And again, share your thoughts. Like it was smaller group discussions, and it was cool just to hear like where other people were in their business.
Yeah. Oh, that's exact. I think I agree fully. That's the beauty of these smaller groups. And I hope that people do feel comfortable sharing truthfully. Like I think
Mhm.
in big groups, like you said, it's easy to agree with everybody. But in a small group, if you disagree or have a slightly different opinion, it's important to share it so that we all know there's different ways of doing things. They can all be good. And it might give someone, you never know who it's going to influence. You never know who else is thinking the same thing. And they're like, oh, I was too scared to say it, but thank you so much for sharing your point of view on that. So, yeah, bring back the small groups.
Yeah, bring back. We're gonna start um not a protest. Oh my gosh, my brain is not working. What's
uh,
the
revolution.
revolution? We're gonna bring it back,
We're
okay?
gonna bring it back. Oh,
Uh,
no, that's true. We got so much out of that. And the moral of the story here. And listen, Kari and I are like, let's just do a 20-minute episode about this. Guys, we're like 30 minutes and we
oh.
apologize. We have we have no way of making these
We
short,
just
but
love to, yeah, gab on the jab.
we do. We love to gab on the jab. But the moral of the story is there's a lot of ways to get education. We are firm believers in continuing to grow and educate yourself and thinking outside the box and not necessarily just thinking of up and coming trends in the wedding industry, but also seeing outside of the wedding industry, what can you learn and what can you share with your community? Like maybe you will be the person to start that small group that brings even 3 people together and
Mhm.
help each other grow. So, um, those are kind of what we've done in the past few years.
And I think a big thing with that too is like, I'm sure everyone like myself is inundated with courses and buying them from everybody. Like it feels like everyone's selling a course. And I think my biggest piece of advice is like, again, attend those master classes that are usually free to see like, do I like this person? Is it, or, is it someone you have followed for a long time? Maybe they're offering it. Go and see if you're getting value out of the hour, and then see like what the courses that they're selling. I think really just pick and choose, right? Like, who do you trust as someone that you've been watching or following and can learn from? Because not every course out there is great, right? So it's like doing your due diligence to figure out what is going to be valuable for you, what's worth the cost, and just not letting the overwhelm, I think, hit you of all of the courses that are available.
Oh my God, so true. I realized we didn't really mention any courses that we did not like,
Mm.
but I can't think of any that I was like, this was stupid.
Yeah,
Like
me.
we
Yeah,
I always get something out of
yeah,
them,
for sure. Yeah, I
but
can't really think of anything right now. Enough that I would like talk negatively
mention
about
it.
it
Right.
on
I
the podcast.
know.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
again, I think the biggest thing too with these courses that we kind of touched base on was like, do you have the time to complete them? Like, what it is the cost? Can you afford it? And then like, are you going to actually hold yourself accountable and implement the changes that need to happen? And look, don't beat yourself up. Like, again, I haven't finished some of these courses or implemented some of this stuff, but like you have access, usually lifetime access to these courses. So, like, you can always go back and be like, you know what, I'm going to start from the beginning again and
Yeah.
implement it this year or this month or whatever. And I think a big thing for me too is just breaking it down, right? Like, with irresistible selling, right? There's like 5 courses hour long. It's like, okay, this month I'm going to focus on course 1, implementing that, kind of breaking it down versus like feeling like, oh my God, I got to sit down right now and listen to all 5 of these and
Mhm.
implement them in the next week. Like that's just not realistic. So it's like taking the time and kind of pacing it out over the course of the month or whatever, the quarter.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? Irresistible Selling, their audio files, I load them on my phone and I listen to it as a podcast kind of.
Oh
So
yeah.
I just started doing that because I have to drive over an hour to go to the city. And every time I commute, I'm like, well, let's not just listen to music. Let me actually listen to something educational that will help me. So a lot of these courses, you can just have it playing on your phone and listen in while you're driving.
I love that. Easy. Look at that.
Easy.
Just like you can listen to this podcast.
Yes. We cannot wait for you to tune in to our next episode. Um, Thank you again for listening, guys. This was not a shorter necessarily mini-sode, but we're gonna test some out coming up on maybe some smaller, shorter formats for you guys. Quick little tips. And we'd love your feedback on all of that.
Perfect. Well, we will see you guys next time, and I will put all of these courses in the show notes. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys if there's any courses that you've taken and that you've loved. Feel free to send us a DM or leave a comment. But we'll see you next time.
Bye.